Hello and Minglaba. Welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Ministry of Education to reopen schools in the first week of July. Protection of individual freedom and personal safety of citizens bill submitted to Amyotha Hluttaw. Everyone's eager to leave their homes after a long period of staying home and lessons to learn from China's lockdown ease. China International Trust and Investment Corporation donates supplies to Kyaukphyu locals. All of that coming up later, but for now, let's take a look at what's happening in local news. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, who's also the chairperson of the National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of Coronavirus Disease, on Tuesday held a video conference about reopening of schools amid the COVID-19 pandemic with relevant persons in the education sector. Director General U Ko Le Win from the Department of Basic Education under the Ministry of Education discussed reopening of schools in other countries. Donnie La Win, a representative from the Myanmar Teachers Federation, talked about preventive measures against the pandemic when schools are reopened. And U Jote, who's representing parents of school children, presented the worries and concerns of parents regarding reopening of schools. In response to the discussions, the State Councillor advised strict adherence to the directives for preventing the spread of the disease. She also spoke about the need for teachers to be ready before reopening of schools and also the need for teachers, parents, and school ferry operators to understand and abide by the COVID directives. In her concluding remarks, the State Councillor assured that the Union government would take into serious consideration the views of the Ministry of Education, teachers and parents, and after taking into careful consideration at which level schools should be reopened, adopt the most pragmatic method. She added that the classrooms will be resumed on a trial basis and that at the present moment it was not yet clear which approach will be successful. The Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement provided cash assistance for pregnant women and children under 2 years of age at the IDP camps in Kachin and Shan states on Tuesday. In the first batch of the provision under the Shock Responsive Social Protection Program, the ministry provided 30,000 kyats per person for a total of 1,402 vulnerable persons at 54 IDP camps in Kachin and Shan states. This is a one-time support program for the most vulnerable persons, pregnant women and children under 2 years of age at IDP camps in Kachin and Shan states amid the COVID-19 crisis. With the union budget, the ministry's Social Welfare Department was supporting vulnerable persons at the IDP camps in Kachin and Shan State under the Maternal and Child Cash Transfer Program in cooperation with General Administration Department and World Food Program during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the ministry will provide extra supports for those vulnerable who aren't the members of the MCCT program and living at the IDP camps in Chin, Rakhine, Kayin, Kachin and Shan states. The relief flight of Myanmar National Airlines landed at the Yangon International Airport Tuesday afternoon, carrying 95 Myanmar citizens stranded in India due to the suspension of international flights. On arrival at the airport, officials from the Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, the Ministry of Health and Sports, and the Yangon Region government helped with their 21-day quarantine period at the designated places and the respective hotels in line with the regulations of immigration and medical checks. The MNA will also fly to Chennai on 24th of May and to Gaya on 27th of May to bring back Myanmar citizens from India. A highway outside of Yangon will be constructed to connect Yangon-Mandalay Highway to Dalat through Thilawa Special Economic Zone, according to an announcement of the Ministry of Construction. The project is to be implemented by the Ministry of Construction with the spending of loans from the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, according to a report released by the Ministry of Construction on 18th of May. It is part of the Greater Yangon Comprehensive Urban Transportation Project being implemented by the Yangon City Development Committee in cooperation with JICA. The first phase of the project will be the construction of the road from Yangon-Mandalay Highway to Thilawa Special Economic Zone. Then, the road will connect Thilawa to Dalat, according to the ministry. The road will be a 6-lane highway and it is 65 kilometers in total. The first phase of the project will be completed by 2025. The project area will include Legu, Dagong Myothit East, Dagong Myothit Saikan, Tan Lien, and Jiao Tan townships. The project will also include a Bago River crossing bridge. It will be 1.4 kilometers long. The Tilawa-Dalat Road construction project will be targeted to complete in 2035, according to the Ministry of Construction. Ayeyarwady dolphin conservation poster and warning signs were erected in Ayeyarwady region to protect and conserve the Ayeyarwady dolphins. These activities are being carried out because people are selling the fish without obtaining legal aquatic products sale license and selling rare species of Ayeyarwady dolphins as well as collecting sea products without a license. Ayeyarwady dolphins are oceanic dolphins and found near sea coasts and rivers in Myanmar. They are very rare and endangered mammal species. So, the Fisheries Department prohibited that the rare and endangered mammal species are not allowed to be caught, killed, and hurt regardless of the whole body or parts of their bodies. Additionally, the endangered Ayeyarwady dolphins are not allowed to be exported, handed over, transported, and handed in without having any recommendations from the department concerned. If Ayeyarwady dolphins are found alive coincidentally, they have to be released as soon as possible. If people fail to follow these instructions, they will be having action taken under the Myanmar Marine Fisheries Law. A total of 79 Ayeyarwady dolphins were found in a 10-day survey conducted from 10th to the 20th of February in the 2019 to 2020 fiscal year between Mandalay and Bamor, a record high population this year. That's all with the local news. Let's take a look at the first report now. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi held a video conference with responsible persons and students' parents about reopening of schools. Currently, the Ministry of Education announced that schools will reopen in the first week of July, starting from KG to primary and secondary school to high school. Pomo and Miminton report.
State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi held a video conferencing with Uko Lewin, Director General of Department of Basic Education, a representative from Myanmar Teachers Federation, and a representative representing parents of students on 19 May. In this video conferencing, they discussed matters relating to the reopening of primary, secondary, and high schools. According to the COVID cases, the students' parents are worried a lot about their children's education. Currently, the Ministry of Education announced that schools will reopen at the first week of July, starting from kindergarten to primary and secondary school to high school. Regarding the measure for reopening of the basic education schools, Donnie Lawin, a representative from Myanmar Teachers Federation, told those present at the video conferencing about the importance of health awareness between primary students. She said,
သူတို့အနေနဲ့နောက်ပြီး KG ကြတော့ဒါမူလာတန်းပိုင်းဟိုပါ KG ကြတဲ့အခါကျတော့သူတို့ကပထမဆုံးကျောင်းကိုဒီဒဇိန်းလေးစီကိုသူတို့ရောက်လာတာသူတို့အနေနဲ့တော်တော်ကြီးကြီးတဲ့တိုက်ပွဲကြီးကိုသူဝင်လိုက်တဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးဖြစ်နေတာအဲ့အတွက်သူကဒီစာသင်ခန်းထဲကိုရောက်
In most schools, the population of primary students is more than that of high school students. The primary students need to know more about the health awareness like social distancing and wearing masks. And when we look back to the curriculum of KG and other primary students, most of their courses are related with playing and communicating. So it will be difficult for students to wear masks. In my opinion, high school students have more knowledge about the health. So we should start opening the school from the secondary level, and the primary teachers can help the students measure the temperatures and others. The parents of the primary students should teach the health knowledge about washing hands and wearing masks, and it will make the children know how to do when they start school.
The state councillor also said about the current education and the reopening of the schools. She said,
ကျမတို့လက်တွေ့ကြကြအခုချိန်မှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျောင်းတွေပြန်ဖွင့်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဘယ်လိုပြန်ဖွင့်
Currently, the Ministry of Education has planned to reopen the schools. The education of the country cannot come to a stop in every situation, even in this global pandemic, COVID-19. The students will lose the desire to learn where they are far away from schools. It has a lot of bad effects on the society when the schools have been closed for long term. And being graduated doesn't mean being educated. The education system we want is not only being graduated, but also the good citizens we want who can work for their surrounding better than others from the education they had learned. And it will have difficulties for KG students to wear masks and follow social distancing guidance. But the teachers should teach the KG students about the health knowledge for washing hands and wearing masks by playing games. For online learning, we have a lot to discuss about it.
Uko Lewin, Director General of the Department of Basic Education, discussed about the school reopening in July.
We held a meeting for the school's reopening in July. We don't want to close the school for long term. When we talked about the opening of the schools, we want to open the schools step by step, starting from the kindergarten. Because as we look at the infection cases, the children are least, but it doesn't mean we don't have to care. We have to be cautious a lot, and we will try to support all the supplies that will be needed for the children as much as we can. We will try to prepare the schools, which can be safe for the children, to learn by joining hands with Ministry of Health and Sports.
In the current situation, the students and parents are worried a lot about the opening of schools. Schools and universities still remain closed since the first case of COVID-19 had been found out. And the Ministry of Education tried a digital free-to-air channel, Myanmar Education Channel, for the digital learning system.
That's a report on the Ministry of Education to reopen schools in the first week of July. All right, we'll move on to the next report. After being passed by the Amyotha Hluttaw, Bill Committee of the Amyotha Hluttaw submitted the Bill on Protection of Individual Freedom and Personal Safety of Citizens to seek approvals on the second day of the second Amyotha Hluttaw's 16th regular session held on Tuesday. Thomas was in Hasmore.
The second Amyotha Hluttaw continued the second day of 16th regular session on the 19th of May. In the meeting, the Bill Committee of the Amyotha Hluttaw presented the report on the Bill on Protection of Individual Freedom and Personal Safety of Citizens. The current law was enacted in 2017, and Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Amyotha Hluttaw submitted the bill to the Amyotha Hluttaw to amend the law on protection of individual freedom and personal safety of citizens on the 18th of February. In the current law, under Chapter 4 of Prohibitions, Section 8 and its subsections express that, in the absence of an order, permission, or warrant issued in accordance with the existing law, or permission from the President or the Union Government body, Subsection A, no one shall enter into a citizen's private residence for the purpose of search, seizure, or arrest. Subsection B, no one shall survey, spy upon, or investigate a citizen in a manner which could disturb their privacy and security or affect their dignity. Subsection C, no one shall intercept or disturb the communications and equipment of a citizen in any way. Subsection D, no one shall demand or obtain personal telephonic and electronic communications data from telecommunication operators. Subsection E, no one shall open, search, see, or destroy another person's private correspondence, envelope, package, or parcel. Subsection F, no one shall unlawfully interfere with a citizen's personal or family matters or act in any way to slander or harm their reputation. Subsection G, no one shall unlawfully seize the lawfully owned movable or immovable property of a citizen or intentionally destroy either directly or by indirect means. And in Section 10, it is said that whosoever is found guilty of committing an offense under Section 7 or Section 8 shall be sentenced for at least 6 months and up to 3 years and have to pay a fine. However, since this provision cannot be billed, anyone who is complained to commit an offense under Section 8 is to be arrested before finding guilty or not. Even though a citizen is wrongly reported, he or she cannot be billed, and Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Amyotha Hluttaw said it can affect the rights of a citizen.
Amyotha Hluttaw ဥပဒေကြမ်းကော်မတီသည်ပြည်ထရေးဝန်ကြီးဌာနပြည်သူ့လွှတ်တော်တရားစီရင်နှင့်ဥပဒေရေးရာကော်မတီပြည်ထောင်စုရှင်းနေချုပ်ရုံးတို့မှတာဝန်ရှိ
The Amyotha Hluttaw Bill Committee held a meeting with the responsible persons from the Ministry of Home Affairs, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Pithu Hluttaw and the Office of Union Attorney General. Not to be swept away from the aims of the bill and to be explicit practically, the Bill Committee submits to make a change in the intro of Section 8, which is originally expressed that in the absence of an order, permission or warrant issued in accordance with existing law or permission from the President or the Union Government, no one shall do the prohibitions mentioned in the following subsections, to be replaced as any responsible person shall. The Bill Committee also presents to add Section 14 stating that responsible ministry shall release any announcement, order or regulations to accomplish the provisions of this law. Section 2E edited by the Pithu Hluttaw Bill Committee is to remain unchanged as the proposed bill, and Section 8G and Section 10 to be placed as mentioned in the original law.
The Speaker of the Amyotha Hluttaw called for the Hluttaw representatives who want to discuss the bill to name not later than the 22nd of May. That's all for now. This is Dora Suisin from MI Radio.
That's a report on the bill on protection of individual freedom and personal safety of citizens submitted to Amyotha Hluttaw. Stay with us, we're going to bring you more reports on Myanmar Today. It has been less than 2 months since the world scrambled to go into the Great Lockdown to slow the spread of COVID-19. Now, many countries are considering their exit strategies. Some have already eased up. China's lockdown ease has been praised and proved efficient. This report covers the strategy China exercises in its systematic lockdown ease and the paths other countries are taking. Akajor has more.
Experts say the country's readiness to lift their lockdowns can be evaluated based on how well they managed the first wave and how ready they are for a digital economy. It has been less than 2 months since the world scrambled to go into the Great Lockdown to slow the spread of the COVID-19. Now many countries are considering their exit strategies. Some have already eased up. There's a lot which countries can learn from China's lifting lockdown, and Mazaji Newin from CRI Myanmar Department elaborates.
အခုလက်ရှိတရုတ်ပြည်သူတွေရဲ့တွာလာနေထိုင်မှုပုံစံကတော့တရုတ်ပြည်သူအားလုံးကအပြင်ထွက်တဲ့အခါနောက်မြောက်ရထားစီးတဲ့အခါမျိုးတွေမှာဘတ်စကားစီးတဲ့အခါမျိုးတွေမှာကိုယ်အသိစိတ်ဓာတ်နဲ့ပေါ့နော်တယောက်နဲ့တယောက် social distancing နေကြတယ် mask တွေအကုန်လုံးတက်တယ်လမ်းညွှန်ချက်တွေအတိုင်းကိုလိုက်လာနေထိုင်ကြတာကိုတွေ့ရတယ်စားသောက်ဆိုင်တွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းဒီယောဂမပြင်းထန်တဲ့မျိုးတွေမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အခုဆိုရင်ပုံမှန်ဝယ်ယူစားသောက်လို့ရတယ်နောက်ဒီ၄လပိုင်းလောက်တုန်းကတော့ပေါ့ဒီစားသောက်ဆိုင်တွေက၄ယောက်ထပ်ပို့လို့ရှိရင်ပါဆယ်ထုတ်ပြီးယူသွားရတာမျိုးတွေရှိတယ်စားသောက်ဆိုင်တွေကလည်းဒီယောဂမဖြစ်စေဖို့အတွက်ထူးခြားမှတ်တာတွေကိုတွေ့ရတယ်ဥပမာဝင်ချင်းမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒီအပူချိန်တိုင်းတာမျိုးတွေ mask မတက်လို့ရှိရင်ပေးမဝင်တာမျိုးတွေဒီဆိုင်ဝင်ဝါမှာဆိုလည်းလက်တန့်စေးတွေချပေးတာမျိုးတွေလှုပ်ဆောင်နေအောင်တွေ့ရတယ်ဒီရုံလုပ်ငန်းခွင်တွေမှာကြတော့အခုတော်တော်များများကရုံးပြန်တက်နေကြပြီလုပ်ငန်းခွင်တွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်း group လိုက်ပေါ့နော်ခွဲပြီးတော့တချို့ကအိမ်မှာwork from home လုပ်တယ်တချို့ကကြတော့ရုံးတက်တယ်အဲ့လိုခွဲပြီးတော့ပေါ့နော်အလှည့်ချပုံမှန်ရုံးတက်နေကြတယ်
The visitors need health certificate if they want to stay at hotels. In Beijing, people need to show the green code that needs to renew registration every 14 days. If one goes out of town, the code color changes. That tracks the movement of the citizens. So if the countries lift the lockdown, these measures will serve as the good example for them. Just as each nation chose a different route into lockdown, each is likely to choose its own exit path. It seems clear the safest idea is to reopen slowly in phases while remaining ready to re-enter lockdown in case of the new outbreaks. Some countries underestimated the scenario and lifted lockdown prematurely, leading to new reported cases subsequently. Mazaji Newin continued to explain concerning the new reported cases after lifting the lockdown.
နော် lockdown တွေ short ပြီးတော့အခုဆိုရင် case တွေပေါ့နော်တဦးစားနှစ်ဦးစားတချို့မျိုးတွေမှာကြားနေရတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့တိတ်ပြီးတော့မစိုးရိမ်ကြတော့ဘူးဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သက်သာတဲ့သူတွေကလည်းများတတ်ထက်များလာလို့လေနောက်တရုတ်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ရတယ်ယောဂဖြစ်လာလို့ရှိရင်ထိထိရရကုသပေးနိုင်တဲ့အပြင်ကိုဒီယောဂထိန်းချုပ်မှုကောင်းကောင်းလုပ်နိုင်တယ်လို့မြင်မိတယ်တရုတ်အစိုးရကအခုချိန်မှာပြည်ပကဒီယောဂကိုစက်မှုတွေမဝင်ရောက်လာစေဖို့နဲ့ဒီပြည်တွင်းမှာလည်းယောဂပြန်လည်းမဖြစ်ပွားဘူးဆိုပြီးတော့အခုစွမ်းကုန်ချက်မှတ်ဆောင်ရွက်နေတာကိုတွေ့ရတယ် ခုနောက်ပိုင်းတရုတ်ပြည်မှာဒီလော့ဒေါင်းကန့်သတ်မှုတွေဖြေလျှော့ပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာပြည်သူတွေကကိုယ့်ပြည်တွင်းမှာပေါ့နော်ခီးသွားလာမှုတွေများလာတယ်။ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုရင်စိုးရိမ်မှုတွေလျှော့ပါလာတာကိုလည်းတွေ့ရတယ်။ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုရင်ပြည်သူတွေကဒီတရုတ်အစိုးရရဲ့ကျန်းမာရေးဆိုင်ရာစောင့်ရှောက်မှုတွေကိုယုံကြည်ကြလို့တဲ့။နောက်ပြီးတော့သက်သာပြောက်ကင်းသူတွေလည်းများတဲ့ထက်များတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မို့လို့သူတို့ကယောဂကူးစက်ခဲ့ရင်တော့မှပျောက်ကင်းမှာပါလို့တရုတ်ပြည်သူတွေကအပြည့်အဝယုံကြည်တယ်။အထူးသဖြင့်ကတော့ဒီပြည်သူနဲ့အစိုးရအချင်းချင်းကပူးပေါင်းဆောင်ရွက်တယ်။အစိုးရရဲ့လှုပ်ဆောင်မှုကိုလည်းပြည်သူကအပြည့်အဝယုံကြည်တယ်လိုက်နာတယ်။
Italy initially underestimated the severity of its outbreak, but then imposed a strict lockdown with high citizen compliance and widespread testing and tracing. However, study shows that Italy is among the least prepared European Union members for a shift to a digital economy. Germany, New Zealand, and South Korea all have higher levels of internet access, service, digital payments, public services, and employers ready to handle remote work. Japan's situation is particularly challenging because it eased up its restrictions too early and then had to impose an emergency to stem additional outbreaks. This is Agajo reporting for Myanmar International Radio.
Well, let's move on to the last report before we go to international news. China International Trust and Investment Corporation, Myanmar, made its second phase donation for the locals in Kyaukphyu Township in Rakhine State, especially for the healthcare workers in their fight against COVID-19. This time, CITIC Myanmar donated disposable medical masks, PPEs, and face shields for the healthcare workers. The donation ceremony was held at the Economic and Commercial Office of the Chinese Embassy, attended by Uzo A. Maung, Rakhine Ethnic Affairs Minister, and other responsible persons. Williamson has more on the story.
Till 19th of May, there is a report of 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Rakhine State. And according to the report by the Ministry of Health and Sports, the 2 virus-infected persons are returnees from Malaysia. And according to Uzo A. Maung, Rakhine Ethnic Affairs Minister of Yangon Region Government, the fight of COVID-19 in Rakhine State has just begun now. Therefore, with the aim to help the people of Rakhine in the fight against COVID-19, China International Trust and Investment Corporation, Myanmar, made its second donation for the people of Kyaukphyu on 19th of May at Economic and Commercial Office of Chinese Embassy in Yangon, attended by Uzo A. Maung, Rakhine Ethnic Affairs Minister, Mr. Tang Shufu, Economic and Commercial Counselor of Chinese Embassy, and other responsible persons. The donation on 19 May is the second piece by CITIC Myanmar, and it included 25,000 of disposable medical masks and 350 PPEs and 650 face shields for the healthcare workers in Kyaukphyu Township. Uzo A. Maung, Rakhine Ethnic Affairs Minister, said,
ဒီကနေ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကမ္ဘာပေါ်မှာဒီကိုရိုနာဗိုင်းရပ်စ်ရောဂါပိုးကပ်ဘေးကြီးပေါ့နော်ကပ်ဘေးကြီးဟာတကမ္ဘာလုံးမှာဒါ
Today the world is facing the horror of this COVID-19 pandemic. Fortunately, in Myanmar we have only just nearly 200 cases and 6 deaths, and we are one of the most successful nations in the world when it comes to controlling the widespread of the virus. We are all together fighting against this battle. Now we have report of confirmed cases in Rakhine State already starting from 18 May, and the people with confirmed cases of COVID-19 are all returnees from Malaysia. Therefore, for the people of Rakhine, the fight has just begun. In order to fight this virus, infrastructure plays an essential role along with a good management, and we need the budget as well. In this time of need and crucial period, we are grateful to CITIC Myanmar for the donation for the people of Kyaukphyu Township in support of their fight against COVID-19.
Speaking at the event, Mr. Tang Shufu, Economic and Commercial Counselor at the Chinese Embassy, said, as Myanmar and China share a long border and to strengthen the relation, after the report of COVID-19 in Myanmar, the government of China has been extending its helping hand to Myanmar in different forms, both with material and human resources in the fight against COVID-19. The Chinese companies in Myanmar are also doing their best in donating supplies for the fight against COVID-19. Speaking to Amyotha Radio, Wu Esan, the representative of Donation Receiving Committee of Kyaukphyu Township, also said,
ဒီ COVID-19 နဲ့ပတ်သက်လို့ကုညီကယ်ဆေးတွေလုပ်တယ် Now the facility quarantine center.
As this is the pandemic which can spread fast in a short time, we are doing our best in Rakhine State using some schools and other educational buildings as quarantine centers. The social organizations from different groups are also active in Rakhine State along with NGOs. Some organizations are contributing toward financial donation. This is how we have been working to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Rakhine State. Whatever we do, we need to work with good friends and good people. Only when we have good friends, then can we get good results of what we do. Moreover, only when we are truthful of what we do, then will the public accept us. The truth will prevail as long as the world exists.
This is Williamson for MI Radio.
And that's all we have for today's reports. I believe it's time now for international news. India and Bangladesh began evacuating more than 2 million people Monday as a cyclone barreled towards their coasts, with officials racing to ready extra shelters amid fears of coronavirus contagion in cramped refuges. Indian forecasters said Cyclone Amphan had reached winds of up to 240 km per hour, with gusts of 265 km per hour over the Bay of Bengal late Monday, ahead of the expected landfall on Wednesday. Shah Kamal, Bangladesh Disaster Management Secretary, said a record over 12,078 shelters, including 7,000 schools and colleges, were being readied to avoid crowding amid fears of the virus spreading. Up to 2 million residents from low-lying areas will be evacuated from Tuesday, he said, adding that they had the capacity to shelter more than 5 million evacuees. Evacuees will be required to wear masks and encouraged to wear gloves while in the shelters. Amphan is expected to weaken before it hits India's eastern states and Bangladesh's south and southwestern coasts, but still packing winds of up to 175 km per hour, making it a Category 6 storm on India's 7-level scale for tropical storms. US President Donald Trump tweeted a letter to the World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus on Tuesday. After outlining serious concerns with the WHO, Trump said, quote, "The only way forward is if it can actually demonstrate independence from China." He added that unless WHO commits to, quote, "substantive improvements over the next 30 days, he will make the temporary suspension of US funding permanent. But on Tuesday, the world-renowned medical journal and its editor-in-chief refuted Trump's allegations, saying the statement is factually incorrect, as The Lancet published no reports in December. These allegations against the WHO are, quote, "damaging to efforts to strengthen international cooperation to control this pandemic," quote, The Lancet stated.
I think they've done a very sad job in the last period of time. And again, the United States pays them $450 million a year. China pays them $38 million a year. And they're a puppet of China. They're China-centric, to put it nicer, but they're a puppet of China. So I was thinking about bringing our 450 down to 40. And some people thought that was too much. So we're going to make a decision fairly soon.
World Health Organization member states agreed Tuesday to an independent probe into the UN agency's coronavirus response as US criticism mounted over its handling of the pandemic. They also agreed to push for equitable access for any treatments or vaccines developed against COVID-19 and urged an international probe into the origin of the new virus. Countries taking part in the WHO's annual assembly, being held virtually for the first time, adopted a resolution by consensus urging a joint response to the crisis. The resolution, tabled by the European Union, called for an impartial, independent and comprehensive evaluation of the international response to the pandemic, which has so far infected more than 4.8 million people and killed more than 318,000. It said the investigation should include a probe of the actions of WHO and their timelines pertaining to the COVID-19 pandemic. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus welcomed the call for a review, stressing Tuesday that he would, quote, initiate such an evaluation at the earliest appropriate moment. In other news, confirmed COVID-19 cases have exceeded 4.8 million globally, with over 322,000 fatalities and more than 1.68 million recoveries, according to the latest tally from Johns Hopkins University. Here is what we know so far. The Chinese mainland has 82,965 COVID-19 cases, of which 1,708 were imported. Also, 368 asymptomatic patients are under medical observation. China's COVID-19 death toll stands at 4,645. The US is leading the world in the number of COVID-19 infections and deaths, totaling more than 1.5 million and over 91,000, respectively. The number of deaths is projected to exceed 100,000 by June 1st, according to US CDC Director Robert Redfield. President Trump says he is taking hydroxychloroquine as a preventive measure, despite experts' caution that the anti-malaria drug is not suitable for COVID-19 treatment. Russia's total number of COVID-19 cases nears 300,000, the second highest number of coronavirus infections for any country in the world after the United States. Brazil is now the third worst hit nation in the world, with more than 271,000 infection cases. Democratic Republic of Congo police killed at least 55 people in a crackdown on a separatist religious sect in April, more than double the toll reported by the Interior Ministry at the time, Human Rights Watch said on Tuesday. New York-based HRW accused Congo authorities of using excessive force in dealing with the Bundu Dia Congo (BDK) group, whose leader had urged followers to chase other ethnic groups out of their core area of support in the country's west. In April, the Interior Ministry said police had killed 22 BDK members in 2 raids, one of which led to the arrest of BDK leader Nimwanda Nsemi at his home in the capital, Kinshasa. But HRW's report said 55 were killed and dozens wounded during those raids and several other incidents, citing more than 50 interviews conducted with victims, witnesses, BDK members, government and UN officials. Well, that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Wherever you are, please stay home, stay safe, do every bit you can to help fight this pandemic. I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.